Hey everyone, welcome to Brunch with the Brave Women Project. I'm here with my friends. I'm here with the incredible Debbie Slews. We are going to have an incredible morning. It's Saturday morning while most people are sleeping or attending soccer practices. We decided to be here, be brave, and be together and work together as women to really do the bold things, do the brave things, and do the next brave thing. So for the three of us, our brave thing this morning was getting up and logging onto the computer and being together. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Debbie, who I've known for a little while, but I feel like our souls are connected. And so we're going to do our introductions. We're here with Julie as well, who is doing big, brave things. And our time together this morning is going to be a power hour. So let's start with just some general introductions. Debbie, why don't you kick it off?
Well, thank you so much. So Holly and I connected over the last couple months, I believe, and really had a connection as entrepreneurs, coaches, and then most of all, like she said, the soul connection about being, Christian women, which is just so amazing when you can have that kind of language and understanding and really feel like the words that we're saying are like a prayer to each other, which is just incredible. So I'm really feeling blessed about that. And so my name is Debbie Slews. My background is early years. I was in childcare for 30 years, running a not-for-profit organization. My life in the last 3 years has mirrored a vision board experience. So it was a mere idea, like crazy idea. What if? And so I followed that intuition, and I started a company. I went down to 4 days a week, so I've been working 5 days plus a week, went down to 4 days a week, really stepped into my coaching company, workshops with vision boards, built a studio, curriculum, and then last October, I decided that I was going to jump in full time, and I didn't have a plan B. It was all in, plan A, trusting God and his plan for me. And I gave my notice in January, and I left just 2 months ago or 3 months ago here in July. And what's happened is, as I say affirmations, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm, running my company successfully full time or something better. And what God has done is he's just showed up with the better and surprised me in miraculous ways. So I'm just feeling really blessed to be able to do this full time. And I have 4 children. I'm a grandma. And I just get to wake up every morning in a state of gratitude for my life.
And in the spirit of gratitude, I have to say, Julie has been just this incredible gift and miracle that arrived in my life this past year. And it's been kind of amazing how our work that connected us professionally through our day jobs and the work that we do that really isn't all that exciting. And what happened was an incredible friendship built based on being brave and being real and being honest and raw about who we are. And so, Julie, I'm so excited to introduce you. I know you're going to love today. Julie, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself as well?
Sure. Well, thanks, Holly, for inviting me. And thank you so much for these last few months and for your friendship, really. And Debbie, thank you for sharing your story. I look forward to learning more. So as Holly mentioned, we know each other from our day jobs. My background is in HR as well, and that was our connection. And we I think we started our jobs around the same time. So our very first conversation, I knew that we had a connection. I very much identified with, oh, it's a new job and we're learning all these things. And I think from like the first 5 minutes, we were already laughing, and I felt this connection with you, Holly. And in the last few months, and certainly during this time of COVID, we have certainly grown closer, and the friendship just organically developed. And I'm so proud to to get to know you and connect on multiple levels. I guess I have a very diverse background, and every time I sort of give this story about myself, I don't really know, which story or where will I begin? I have so many interests and so many passions. Most recently, I've started I call it a nonprofit startup. It's called the Give Back Experience, that I kicked off on June 19th. And the premise is really just to give back, lessons learned, give back love, really, in the areas of art, music, and art, education, and sport. Those are the three areas that shaped me when I was a child and certainly into adolescence. And most recently, I've reconnected with a lot of friends from high school. I grew up in a very multi-ethnic, multicultural, diverse community. And given the climate of today and the current events, I was moved to do something, right? And yes, I do have a day job of configuring a system, but there's a whole other part of me, there's the passion part and wanting to give back and wanting really to connect with human beings. So I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited for the next hour or so.
I'm so ready for a power hour. And it's such a treat to be here. Now, you probably know this about me, that I am a motivation seeker. Like, I love to be motivated. I love to motivate myself. I have Post-it notes everywhere with like either a scripture verse or a powerful word that keeps me moving through the day. Even in frames and random places in my house, I have, phrases or words or things that are kind of like retargeting my brain. I just love that. But the idea of a vision board always kind of scared me because I associated it with that idea of like manifest destiny or manifest your future through saying spells and mantras that were a little bit too new agey for me. It didn't really quite sit right with my Christian beliefs. But what I loved about your approach, Debbie, is that it's not new agey. It really aligns with that kind of way that I like to go through things. And it's not for me so much about finding God's will. It's about finding myself in his will. And when I find myself in God's will, everything is harmonious. Everything kind of works together. Everything kind of moves to the next thing. The person that I meet is the exact person I needed to have in my life. The door that opens is the exact door that I get to be brave enough to walk through. And I love that. And so I always think, I'm a little bit like an Energizer bunny in that I just go, 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 go. And I think that it's, my mom's name is Joan. So growing up, I learned a lot about Joan of Arc. And she was kind of a badass. And like the fact that she dressed up like a man so she could go fight in the Crusades. Like, okay, that was extremely unconventional and you rocked it. So she said, act and God will act. And I always think about that in my Energizer bunny moments. So I feel like I have found myself in this place of just saying yes, loving the person in front of me, barreling through the open door, even if it was just a crack that they forgot to close. Whatever it is, like I feel like I found myself there. And so being brave in these moments, I'm so excited, Debbie, to just give you all the control to take us on a journey and help us to use powerful words to be brave.
Awesome, thank you. That's, whew. I thought you were going to say you always want to be a motivational speaker, not seeker, because you definitely are a motivational speaker as well. Yeah. So a little bit of context where this happened. So I was telling you about the company that I started and how I build curriculum. And then I was asked to be part of a wedding show. can you come with me, Mom? She's got this other side hustle business. And she says, you can promote Dare to Declare. And I thought, how do I do that? Vision board, like to promote it. And I thought, what I've always done in the last 5 years is I've developed a power word, a word that is my lens for the year. And I stumbled across it when I was watching a local woman, she's become a friend of mine, give a TED Talk. And she talked about kindness. And I kind of blew it off. Like I was like, kindness, got it, check. I'm a very check mark kind of person with lists, very A-type personality. Anyways, I could not shake it. It was like, it kept coming back to me, her talk. And I thought, kindness. Oh yeah, that really lands for me. And I kept thinking, if everyone could just be kind, imagine, there wouldn't be marital conflicts, there wouldn't be relationship conflicts, there wouldn't be international conflicts if everyone showed up with a spirit of kindness. And so I brought this to the childcare organization that I was working at, and the supervisors loved it. They took it and they brought it back to the employees, and they created, activities around random acts of kindness. The employees, then the educators, took it to the children. The children, especially our school age before and after school programs, they took it and they ran with it, and they created a hashtag called Kind of a Movement. And as they were showing up with acts of kindness. So one single word idea that I was able to declare, again, made this, it was like a ripple in the pond where it just took on a life of its own. So that's the first time I really had this indication of the power of a word. So I decided to take that and at this wedding show, I thought, how can I offer this as a mini kind of vision? And so what I developed today is actually came out of this accident, this need, this idea, and I created this for the bride. So I invited them to think about what's a word that will invite a feeling that you want for your day. And I'll tell you, our booth was the busiest. It was just packed with excited women to create these cards, and that's what I'm going to walk you through today. So that's how this workshop came up, and it's been one of actually my strong visionary workshops, because it's a great introduction to the visionary process. I'm going to share my screen now.
Oh, Holly.
It's good, Julie. I know you're gonna love it.
I know it is.
I couldn't let you miss it.
Only you can get me out of my pajamas and
So,
cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
So that was a bit of introduction there. And then, so my first thing for you, Julie, and Holly, again, if you want to participate in this, I can't see you ladies, so I'm just speaking to the screen here, but if time and money were no object, what would you do? So I want you just to write down a few things for yourself. And
it could be more than one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. I hate the ones where you're like, pick one. I can't.
No.
All right.
If time is no object, what would you do?
I love this question.
Of course we can.
We're going to start off strong right away and get you thinking big.
Love it. Julie has a list of 25 things already.
I've got like a good 4.
Keep writing.
Okay.
Push it. Push your brain. Time was no object, and money was no object. What would you do? Okay. For time's sake, you might want to continue on with this homework after and do a little bit more writing, as this will support you with a bigger vision board. But let's take a look at the list. And are there any things, first off, that came up that are similar? So are you seeing a bit of a theme at all in it? All singular.
Well, I started off very broad, and then there's two at the end that get a little bit more specific, and they're like projects that I've always wanted to pursue, but never like was able to. So
fabulous. And writing it down, seeing it on paper, how did that feel?
It felt it like pulled at my heart, for sure. I have been thinking about these things. I've asked myself similar questions of like, oh gosh, I wish I could do that, or et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, it felt very close. Like it felt very me, like what I wrote down. Like as I was writing it, I'm like, of course I have to do this somehow. I have to find a way to do this.
You will, and research shows that by it's one thing to dream and to vision, but by writing it down, you're 42% more likely to manifest it. It's 42% more likely to occur. So, and then if you add images and declare it, it goes up to 78% more likely.
Oh. That's
so
awesome.
You've already begun. You've already moved. You've moved the needle by writing it down. So my other question is, in the list, are there anything that popped up that were surprises to you?
I found surprises in my list. I'm like, wait, where did that come from? I'm such a weirdo. But I took myself, like, literally on my list, I have clean people's houses. It's weird. It's such a weird thing, but I secretly, like, I love putting people's things in order so that they can get through life and have like a little bit less stress. That's a really weird thing though. So it surprised me. I totally get it now that I say it out loud. I'm like, okay, that is absolutely the core of my being. But it shows up in a weird way that I put, if I didn't have to worry about time or money, I would want to clean people's houses. I'm weird.
I love it. No, I love it.
There's people that I know that have left their corporate career to do that because I have freedom of time. I can work on my own pace. I've got my music in, and I can be home between, like I can do it in between when I bring my children to school and pick them up, and I have freedom of time, and they're making really good money.
Yeah, and it's an incredible gift to give someone. Like, wow, like I am making your life easier.
Mm-hmm. So no, it's not weird at all, and yeah, so that's amazing. So you want to share a couple things? Can either of you share a couple things? What came up for you?
Sure. Oh, the first thing that came up was photography. So if I didn't have to worry about paying the bills of any sort, if time and money were no object, the first thing that I would do would be to just take photos all day and share them. I think if I could, I'd be a photojournalist. And then I mentioned the last two got more specific. I would travel to the Philippines and I would interview my cousins who I don't know. I have like literally over 40 first cousins. The majority of them are in the Philippines. And my dad and my mom were the youngest of 6 kids, so that's where the 40 comes from. Over 40, it might even be 50. Anyway, I grew up getting to know my family through photographs and stories. And as I grew older, I never got to meet my grandparents. Actually, I met one, And my cousins have those stories of my grandparents in the Philippines. So I would love to do that. And yeah, the other thing is another project related to Filipino history as well.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I won a grant in college in my junior year, and due to health reasons, I wasn't able to pursue that. And the grant went to promising women of color for research. And my project proposal was to go to the Filipino American Museum, which is in Washington State. And I was going to do a research project that would compare Filipino Americans on the West Coast and Filipino Americans on the East Coast. And it's always been sort of that project that I never got to do. And recently, when I've sort of revisited my passion for history, I remembered, like I almost forgot because it was a little traumatizing to give up, right? But recently, in 2020, I've let myself remember things that I kind of that I have blocked out. And it was sort of special for me to remember how much I wanted to do that and let myself feel, some pain again of not being able to do that. So it's something that I would like to do one day.
We'll talk a bit more about that because it doesn't have to be one day.
Okay.
Because you get to create the life that you want to live. And time and money are merely that.
Yeah.
So they are, and I know all the hows and all the buts and all the excuses and all the things are coming up. And that, just like you said earlier, you've forgotten. Well, you've forgotten because your brain is going, you know what, really, that's too hard for you to think about. That's going to hurt you too much. We're just going to cocoon you. We're just going to put that away because we need to keep you safe. We want you to feel your happy self where you just feel good about, waking up. No risk. We don't need to talk about that pain. Where in fact, the pain is actually your motivator to pursue some of these things, to say, this, you know what, that was so painful. I want to go back there. I want to remember that because I want to do this. But our brain is working overtime to not let that happen. And we're coming up with all the excuses why time and money are the things that's stopping you from being a photojournalist and from going back to that grant. But again, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but I'm getting pretty excited with you've got amazing things on your list, which are so possible.
And she has so much talent. I've seen these pictures.
Holly. Yeah, I mean, Holly creates, you have a way of creating what I need. I in this past year, I've needed someone who I feel safe with and who I can trust, and that happened very quickly actually with you, and I knew that, and I knew there was something special about that. So I seized the moment, girl.
And that's, I feel like that is just like the essence of life. And I keep thinking, as you guys are talking, I'm looking at my list and I'm like, wow, like I have so many opportunities to do these things because I believe that these moments are fleeting. Like our life is so short. At the core, like I look at everything on my list, at the core, it is in improving the lives of others, giving them the best opportunity to use the things that they have. And there's nothing that sets me on fire more than the person in front of me living their life to the fullest. and like that, like for me, that is oxygen because I know that life is ridiculously short. And so I keep looking at this, and even like, Debbie and I were talking about my kids are under 5 and how everyone says the days are long and the nights are long, but the years are short. And on my list, I have preschool teacher. I can barely handle my 2. What would I do with 30? But there is something magical about the innocence and helping another person become who they were meant to be and find themselves in themselves to be fully themselves. Like that's where coaching is for me. That's what writing is for me. You know, even on my list, host a podcast or a talk show. I've been running from that for years, you know?
Oh,
And
nice.
it's, I just like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, there is something so completely in that. And then the last thing on my list, you guys will love this, is live at the beach and take walks all the time. If you really knew me, you would know that's how I recharge. Just that is how I recharge. I'm like, you know, a solar panel, that I have to do that for myself so that I can just spend the rest of the day giving it away. This is just such powerful thought, in that, you know, really coming into connection with who I really am.
Absolutely. So, and I want to just end this to say, I'm just spurring things up in you here. We don't have time to fully work this out. So a vision board will certainly help you do that, or again, coaching. But I'm excited. Both you ladies are so open to this process, and these things are coming out that I hope that you can start to see this glimpse of what's possible. So that's what this exercise is. So let's go to the next slide. So Julie, some of the materials that you'll need, so you can do this afterwards. I'm just going to walk you through. We're not going to actually physically do the card as through this, but you can do it afterwards. Also, Holly, I don't know, you have a specific group, right, for your Brave Women's project? So if Julie wants to post her card in there and then tag you in it, if she wants to tag me in it, I think that would be fabulous if she'd be open to do that.
Oh, I'm totally open to it. I was a preschool teacher, Holly. That's a story for another day.
Oh, wow. You have a varied background, that's for sure. So yeah, you connect with me. I'm an early child educator. That's my educational background. So yeah, this gets me fired up. I love, colored paper. I get excited when I go into Staples and any of those kind of stores.
Oh, me too.
Renting in some card stuff, and with COVID, I understand it's maybe more difficult to get some of these materials. So what would work would be even like an old recycled greeting card. So, if you've got a birthday card, you can just take off the back page, and if it's, clear, you could use something like that.
And I will just share that I'm using Publisher and doing it on a separate computer and finding the images that I need on the internet and putting it in here so that as I evolve, I can evolve this as well. So that's my tactic today.
Yes, Holly, I'm fully aware of your multiple computers. I will be using my art supply.
So I have to say there's pros and cons to both. I think the pro for the online is that you can get really specific for exactly what you want. You Google it, there it is. But there's also something very beautiful and tangible, playful about actually getting into paper. So with vision boards, now this part's a bit different from a vision board, but with vision boards, I actually discourage people from having it be exclusively online, because I figured that's a Pinterest board. This is a vision board. So there is a difference in that. And so I do encourage people to actually have tangible paper, even if you're printing out your photos and then cutting them out from online. But just that you've got the paper in hand and you're cutting them out and then adhering them, because the other piece is the actual act of gluing feels committal.
Ooh.
So just like your left brain when you're writing down your goal, and as I said, that's 42% more likely to manifest, by actually taking your image and gluing it to the paper, you're like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. So again, another protocol that I have with Dare to Declare is I don't promote the use of like cork boards or magnetic boards where things just kind of get in and out, but that this is my vision. This is what I'm committed to. And usually vision boards are, I keep going back and forth with vision boards to what we're doing today, but they're about a year. But the same thing with my power word is that I choose a power word for a year. So I didn't disclose what mine is. This year, my power word is generous. And so, generous. And my way of being is that I'm showing up generous. So whenever I have a decision that I'm making, you know, certainly I sent up a prayer and I asked God, help me to show up my most generous self. What does that look like? And so it's really given me laser focus to my way of being. And you know, I hope that for you as well as we discover your power word.
Debbie, that was beautiful. I am converted to using the real stuff after that. My perfectionist self just got tamed. So thank you so much for that.
Okay, I was trying to say it in the most respectful way, but
Awesome.
This is what I've learned.
It's awesome.
Good.
And
Okay.
you know, you have to.
She's already ready. Oh my gosh.
I'm ready. I have my art box today. I have glue in here. Glue.
Oh, good. But yeah, you need scissors and glue. I just threw in a Sharpie because I'm infatuated with Sharpies. Like I love Sharpies. Like I don't know here. I can even show you like the bigger the Sharpie, the better. Can you see that? My big fat Sharpie.
Okay. I'm all Holly, come over.
I know, I need to. Here I am at my desk. I'm like, okay, I got Post-it notes. Post-it notes, Sharpies, and, you know, stickers. So we're good.
That's all we need for this card today. So yeah, that's brilliant.
Love it.
So yeah, you might want a notebook if you're writing down any notes while we're talking here. Just already, you know, some of the things that are coming up that Holly's saying, that Julie's saying, that I'm saying, that may be connecting to you. And then yeah, there's some stickers. These are just from the dollar store. I just want to point out the butterflies. The butterflies have been really symbolic for many people, just in terms of this whole process of self-development around personal development, self-awareness. Often people will say, it feels like I'm a butterfly, where I began in a cocoon, similar to what we were talking about earlier with Julie, where the brain likes to keep us safe, and we're, you know, we've surrounded ourselves with stories that we believe are true. But then when we start to peel that back and, you know, the breaking open, and again, you can use scripture around that, right? There's the breaking open, the tough piece of the hurt, but then what emerges is the butterfly. And we really can soar. So I just love those butterfly stickers, and they always are very popular.
Butterflies are very much special to me.
So some other things you may want to add in if you've got markers. So I just want to remind you some things you might have around the house, especially you too, Holly, with little ones. You might have some of these things.
Yep.
Stamp, you know, colored paper. So any of that kind of thing can embellish your card. And I think as women, we're much more likely to have our card in a visible, highly visible spot if it's attractive as well. So, you know, make it pretty. And one of the other things, if I forget to say this, is, as I'd said about posting the card in Holly's group, I think to take a photo of it and use it as your screensaver. That way, it's also visible on your phone every time you pull up your phone, or on your laptop or other device. So here's some ideas as well for additional things you want to embellish your card. Is if you've got magazines sticking around the house. Actually, that my daughter sells in direct marketing for 31. So I've got her catalogs, and actually I would say catalogs or advertising are more likely to have inspiring images versus just articles, because advertisers are trying to get your attention. So it's like, after my most recent board, one of my favorite pictures is an advertisement. It's got a woman with her hands in the air. She's in a convertible. And I think I was advertising something, I think like an energy drink or something like that. So yeah, so look past what it's advertising. I have to say, often it's feminine products. And, take a look at what the image actually is. So here, we're going to dig a bit deeper. So this is the next exercise for you. So take out your piece of paper again. And I want you to write down, so I'm going to time you, whatever comes to mind, answering the question, what do you want? So let me know when, I can't see you, so let me know when you're ready. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Ready. And begin. Halfway there. And stop.
That was a minute? Oh my goodness.
What comes up for you? What really, again, popped out that you're like, what? Where did that come from?
Well, I can start. So I had time to enjoy life because, as you know, I have like 3 jobs. And the reality is I really don't need 3 jobs, but I have this fear of a financial upheaval. And I just live with that because I left home when I was 17. And so I always take the next professional opportunity because I'm afraid somewhere deep down inside that somewhere the opportunities are going to stop coming and it's going to be, you know, the demise of whatever I feel I have. And I, you know, so really time to enjoy life, time to enjoy friendships. Debbie, we already talked about this today earlier before we recorded, but I want family dinners on Sundays, you know, I want, you know, health, and I want, you know, to have a healthy, supported marriage. And those are things that, you know, I think are absolutely at the core of some of who I am. So brought up some good things fast.
Beautiful. You know, this exercise, when I do it in person, I actually have it like a bounce back and forth. Like, so one person asks, so this might be something that you want to do with someone that you trust later on, and do this exercise with them. So one person asks the question, what do you want? And the other person responds with a single answer. And this person who's asking the questions doesn't respond to that question. They just ask the question again. What do you want? What do you want? And the person just responds with a single answer. So we do it, and when I do it in person, I do it for 30 seconds, and then they switch roles. The person does it, and then you do it again. And you do it twice. And like you said, what comes up, people are often, like you said too, are surprised because it's like, where did that come from? But it's sitting right here all along. And then all of a sudden it's just like, wow, that's really what I want. Why is my brain trying to protect me and keep me in the dark? That this is actually what I really want. And when we discover and get really clear on what we want, we can then create the vision and the goals and the action so that we don't get distracted by, you know, another job, right? And our brain's like, oh yeah, you should do that. But when we have a clear vision, we're like, no, this is actually what I want. Yeah. And it's not this, which I'm distracted by the promise of more income. And I wanted to just say one more thing to you about that. Again, we can talk more about this in terms of coaching, but is that split focus will give you split results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down.
Yep.
I'm writing that down. I've experienced that. I experienced that this last couple of months, Holly. I mean,
amen.
You know that.
It's the truth.
So you can divide up your time in thirds with your 3 jobs, but you're only going to get a third of the results that you want from each of them. Whereas when you decide which is the one that I want, what is it that I desire? What gets me, you know, passionate? I want to give you another little word. I love pulling apart words. This is from one of my colleagues, and she says, pass I on. That's what passion is. I'm passing myself. I'm passing I on. So what is your passion? You both said this, that you want to make an impact in the world. What is it that gets me where I really, truly, what I want and desire, which is to pass myself on and make an impact? What is it that floats to the top for me? And that's where my focus gets to be.
Amazing.
Wow.
So Julie, what came up for you, and what do I want?
You know, a lot came up for me, but a lot also came up listening to Holly and listening to you as well. When I started the Give Back experience, I actually asked myself, what do I want? right? And the answer was, I wanted something bigger and more and wider than what I was doing, before, let's just say before June, right? I needed to, if I was connecting with friend A, B, and C and making change on this level in June and May and June, I needed that to be on a larger scale. And I needed the change to be amplified larger, which is why I created this nonprofit. I mean, it was just it started off as a Google form, and then it grew into a website, and then a Facebook page, and then it spread, and I have alumni now reaching out, and friends. Really, it's just friends. And I feel this passion and burn in my heart of like, this is happening, right? And what do I want? I want this to be my job. I want this to be my job. Like when you were talking about split focus, there, when I was starting it, I do this in the early mornings and the late nights, and during the day I'm working in my day job when I get to see Holly. But once the organization stabilized, I wondered, like, is this what I want? Is this really what I want? Where I'm like Julie during the daytime, and then give back experience, at night or in the early mornings is when I write, which is a big part of my growth this year in the form, or even like going for the give back experience. Yeah, anyway, going to what I wrote, the first word that I wrote to the question, what do you want? The first word that I wrote is justice, love, love turned inwards. Earlier, sometime last year, I asked myself, if depression is anger turned inwards, I wonder what love turned inwards is. And that has been my journey in the last year or two. And intensely this year, I've been experiencing what love turned inwards is. And as I was writing, I realized my default, or sort of my knee jerk, is to give that back, or give and share that with people. And something that I'm trying to learn is to own that, right? To watch that a little bit. Holly, you've talked about filling up your own tank, and I noticed that I am so quick to, once I learn something, once I experience something, I want to share that with people. And my tendency is, in the last couple of years or in my life, is to give a little bit too much, where I'm a little burnt. That has certainly happened to me, and thankfully I've been able to learn from that. But it is something that I don't want to run away from, because I think giving is good, right? Like, giving is who I am. But at this point, like today, I am mindful of, like, how much am I willing to, what is that line, right? Like, or I don't know, I don't even know if it's a line. But it is something that as I'm discovering and exploring what I want, I'm trying to also be mindful and present with my tank, basically.
Beautiful, beautiful. One sec, sorry.
Julie, I have to say that the love turned inward thing just really, like, it really resonates. What does love turn inward look like? That just, that is a brave thing. Wow. Like, we've got hours of conversation about that ahead of us.
And what do one day I want to write that book. That is the title of my book.
Yeah.
Did you write it down?
Okay.
It is so powerful when you said it, and I could hear it in your voice. The power just resonates off of that statement. yeah, and what was the question you asked? Is depression?
If depression is anger turned inwards,
Right.
what is love turned inwards?
Beautiful. Yeah, those are that. Like again, like you said, that could be the foundation for an amazing book. So
That came
I would read that.
Yeah, I was definitely in pain when I asked that question, but it opened up so much in that moment and in the days, months, and year afterwards.
Amazing. And I wanted to just give you something that I recently learned as well around cup. So tank or cup being filled is that as we do this inner work and as like you start to ask those questions of yourself and you start to pull back the layers and push, and crack open, that is a filling of your cup. And we can't give to others unless our own cup is full. And once our cup is full and spilled over, the spilling over is for other people. But there was a woman that was actually on the Oprah show, and I loved how she said this beautifully. And she said, when we give out of our own cup to others, we make them a thief because they're stealing what we actually need ourselves.
Yeah.
I love that analogy. So, yeah, so just about, filling our cup, and there was something else that was going to say about that, but so also about giving to others is that it's like a graph in that the arrow goes up, which means, well, actually the arrow's already coming down. Like God our Father is already giving us grace, whether we're in tune to it or not. There's grace coming from him every single day. The very fact that we all woke up this morning and that Holly's recovering, but we're in a state of health, right? That our eyes were open, we're breathing. That's already God's grace coming down to us. We have a responsibility for the arrow to go back up and to be like, thank you, in gratitude, thanksgiving to God. And when that arrow is going up and down, then we're able to then put the arrow out. So like I said, the arrow's coming down from God, it's going back up in terms of gratitude. And when that's happening, then we're able to send out to others and make that impact that you're talking about. The miracle, the beauty that happens is that the arrow will come back to you. And that will continue. But that's not your feeding. That's not the filling of your cup. Your cup actually comes from vertical. And from that relationship that you have from God. And then the other is like the icing. It's the reward. It's the impact that you're making. And when you get to see that, like what I'm getting to do with you ladies today, oh my goodness, I'm just, again, full of gratitude. So, nice bridge. Gratitude is everything. So, being in the state of gratitude, and science showed that it takes 21 days to create a new habit. So consecutive days. So for you, Julie, I don't know if you ladies do this, but to write down 3 things every day for 21 days. So this is a challenge for you. So whatever time of day, set your timer, put it on your, in your calendar. Oh, what 3 things intentionally am I grateful for today? And by the end of the 21 days, you will have developed a new habit, which is seeing the world through the eyes of being grateful. And we're coming up here on the Canadian Thanksgiving next weekend, and I know yours is until the end of November, but it always reminds me of this state of gratitude and thanksgiving for all things that are given to us.
Is it 3 new things each day?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Love it.
I remember a woman being in such despair. We were talking about depression and working with her. She was a former employee when I was at the childcare, and everything was dark. I mean, it was just impacting all of her relationships, because what we do somewhere is what we do everywhere. Like how we show up in our business is how we show up everywhere. And so I really felt compelled to support her, not as an employee singly, but also as a person. And so I gave her this challenge. And what broke my heart was that she couldn't think of one thing that she was grateful for. She was in such a dark place. And so I, was giving her examples like I just did, where like, did you wake up this morning? Like, I know the answer was yes. I said, are you grateful for this, that the fact that you have breath within your lungs, that you have clean water to drink. So, I mean, it can be some people are starting at the very base line, but for others, it's about like what you're talking about, Holly, which is slowing things down and being grateful, that you've got the kids for a few minutes at the table. And you can picture the Sunday dinners in the future. So whatever that state of gratitude is.
Beautiful.
The last exercise for you is going, no, I don't want to think anymore. Is how do you want to feel? So I'll give you also a minute there to write that down. And you can write that down in a form of a sentence. It doesn't have to be point form, whatever feels comfortable to you. Okay, you ladies ready?
Yeah,
Yes.
my mind was blown by that again.
Tell me about that.
So I'm a tremendous self starter. Like, I do things myself. I don't wait for someone to do something for me. And I'm surprised by what started bubbling as I was writing. And I'll share this. I'll be very transparent in sharing it. I said, I want to feel confident in the present and the future, supported in the big and small battles, and cherished for who I actually am. And that, it strikes a chord. It's like, whoa, there's a few things in here that I can do for myself, but everything else means that I have to be open to someone else and vulnerable in that way and trust. And that's a little bit of it's a very tender point. So I'm surprised that came out.
You work with the 5 love languages?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So just for anyone watching this as well, there is a free quiz that you can take. If you Google the 5 love languages, there's a free quiz on there that you can discover what your love language is, but also if you have your partner do it, because we, well then Holly, if you've done this work, we give love often how we want to receive it. So we're not actually speaking into the love that our partner, how they want it, but really how we want it. And that's where a lot of miscommunication can occur. So my love language is affirmation. And I like to just, like, I love it when my husband tells me, more so than I'm beautiful or anything like that. More so I like when he says, you're a great mom, or wow, I'm so proud of you with what you're doing with your business. Like that gets me like, woo, fired up. And then, but his is acts of service. So it's funny because he does, like, he'll fill up my car with gas. He, he'll bring me a coffee. And I mean, as much as I appreciate that, it's not like I don't get as fired up about it as I do when he tells me these other things. And I tell him what a great dad he is. I'm so impressed with him as a businessman. Really, what he wants me to do is bring him a cup of coffee.
That's really fun. So my husband his primary is acts of service and mine is quality time. And it is funny how over, the years we've been together, I know that about him. So I'm trying to retrain my brain into a place of find one thing that you can do for him today. Like just find one thing, whether it's like today, literally I brought up a cup of coffee. Your husband would like that too, but brought a cup of coffee upstairs when I woke him up this morning after I had the kids at 5 a.m. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to just put it down and go walk away because that's all he really wants.
That's awesome. I just celebrated 10-year wedding anniversary, so I'm gonna do this with my partner for sure.
Congratulations! That's wonderful.
It's a big year.
Yeah, it's very simple, but it really is. It can be a very clearing exercise. Yeah. And actually, it's got one on there that you can do with your kids too, for teens and for children. And I know I offered this exercise at my previous workplace, and some of the educators were going to do it with their children as well.
That's awesome.
Do they ever move past physical touch? Because I feel like I have my hands constantly on a baby or a 5-year-old because all they want me to do is scratch their backs. Will that ever change? Because I love to drink my own coffee.
That may be unique to your children because I'm just thinking of my grandson and he's not a real snuggly boy.
Oh, so maybe it's just my boys. All they want, mommy scratch my back all day.
Yeah. So I think that may be unique to your children. Not all children have the physical touch. So yeah, that's a good question though. So Julie, is there anything that comes up for you and how do you want to feel?
Yeah, mine was more like single words. So I want to feel whole. I want to feel centered, inspired, connected, energized, and at peace. And listening to Holly, what I would love to do is to go back to each word and be able to articulate, and I'll write it down. What does whole look like for Julie, or what does centered feel like, or look like, taste like, smell like for me, so that I can be more specific because, I would like the next step for me to be more specific in this.
Beautiful, and I really encourage journaling. Again, you're engaging your left and right brain, and so perhaps each of those words would be a title on the page.
I have a question on journaling, and I'm sure maybe there's no right or wrong answer, but I used to journal a lot, and in this year I started to write more, but more typing. So that's been new. So do you have any thoughts on when you journal? Is it better to use a pen, or does it matter really? Because there is a difference because, and maybe it's different for every person. Maybe.
How does it feel for you? Each one.
Having been a writer with a pen originally, and then doing this as an adult, typing is certainly much more what I'm familiar with. I am writing with a pen feels much more at home. So with me, the thing is, I find myself, I have such little patience with my handwriting these days, or like my thoughts are faster when I type. So I don't know, and I noticed that I haven't been able to stick with writing with a pen. It hasn't stuck with me, or flowed as much as keying in, and I thought that was it. I didn't expect that part at all. So I don't know.
Slowing down, like, will the thoughts be lost? Is that a worry? Like, is that true that the thoughts will be lost if you don't get them down fast enough? you know, what's coming up for you around just even that, you know, you're thinking, I have to go faster, I need to get these thoughts down. But trusting yourself that you will be able to write them down with a pen and to give time for that process to happen. What I do know as an educator is that this very movement as children, so we actually would put paper underneath tables for children to be able to do and use their arm this way. Can you see me doing this?
Yeah.
Moving the wrist, because this kind of movement, again, improves the fine motor, but it also travels the arm and supports the core. So I know that that's what I know with earlier. So I don't know the scientific answer to your question, typing versus writing, which is why I asked how it feels. But I also just sort of red flagging the part about like getting more in versus quantity versus quality. But I also do know about children. I think just like the paper idea versus using text or whatever, I think that the connection, like the grounding, and again, engaging the right brain and left brain with the actual holding of the pen.
Yeah.
And that's how our forefathers did it. And,
Right.
and so, yeah, but whatever feels good to you, and what the purpose is fulfilled. But the main point is that you're actually questioning that, which is beautiful, and that you're being intentional about even that process. So that's amazing.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay. Mindful of our time here. So how to choose a power word. Think of a word that makes you feel joyful, inspired, that moves you into action. So we haven't talked very much today about the law of attraction. And again, that can be sometimes students can hear that and think, oh my word, you know, red flag. I would say the law of attraction is as real as the law of gravity. And we know who created all the laws. And so I do talk about the law of attraction because I also know that energy is very tangible and real. And if you think about when you walk into a room and somebody's standing maybe with their back to you, and you're like, this person is angry, or they're in a really bad mood, and they haven't said a word to you, but you can feel the energy of that bad mood. Well, the same is true of positive energy. It's just we're not as noticing it because it's not as remarkable to us, where we tend to be a sort of on an even keel, but a negative energy, we're right away like, whoa, what's going on here? Or we go into a protection mode, like, right? Whereas positive energy, we just like, bring it on, give me more of that. But negative, we're like, hey, I got to protect myself, and we start to think about that. So one thing I just wanted to point out that the law of attraction, the word action is actually embedded in it. So if you want results, you need to act. So we can't just sit on the couch and wait for God to fill our arms full of whatever we're putting out there. So, thinking about what do I want? How do I want to feel? And all the exercises we did this morning, the key is action. And the other magic around that, if you want to use the word magic, is consistent action. So it's about being intentional, getting focused on what do I really want, and then creating small, consistent acts towards that goal every day. Because if you were to cut down a tree with an axe, for example, let's say there's this big tree in the front yard and you're like, well, my job is to cut down this tree. If you went out and took a single whack at that tree every day, you're just going to chip away at it. Eventually, the tree will come down. And the same thing is with your big goals. If you continue to have small acts towards that goal, it will eventually be accomplished. Well, the other word I want you to think about is safe. And I know we've been talking a lot about safety as a bad thing, but I want you to also feel like this word is safe in the context of it feels good. It feels like I could share this publicly. Like I said, my word is generous, and that feels really, really good to me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So here's some ideas of some words. This is called a wordle. I don't know, Holly, if you've ever done this before. it's a free app that you can download. And I was part of the International Women's Day speaking engagement. I was asked to speak in front of this group, and what they had done was they had satellite offices all over the province, and they were connected to the main speaking engagement that I was at, and they were asked as well, what is your power word? So the women that were all in satellites as well in person gave their power words, and the bigger words are ones that were duplicated more often. So that's where they really stood out. So I love the idea of grace being one of the main words. That one really stands out to me. So these are some ideas if you're sort of at a loss for what would be a good power word for me. Anything pop out for you ladies when you're looking at these words?
Julie, you want to guess what my word is? The one that I'm seeing immediately?
Brave.
Yeah, I mean, apparently I wasn't alone. It's big.
There's a word, I see a version of the word, but my word is believe. It's been always a special word for me. It's something that I use. So I was a captain of the softball team, and one thing that I did was before a big game, I would write the word believe on the game ball, and I would give it to one of my teammates who I thought would need it. And to what I was talking about before of like giving that away kind of thing, I would like to sort of give that to me now. Like, this is my time. I'm gonna give the ball to me, sort of thing.
You're killing me. This is awesome.
So I mean, very much.
It's beautiful.
When you started, I had that word already, but I wanted to. I said to myself, be open to another word, but believe is my word.
Fantastic. It was actually one of my words as well the last couple of years. And as I was starting my company, I really wanted to rest in surrender to the word believe, believe that this is all going to happen. And 3 words that I use when I'm doing workshops are ask for what you want, believe it's possible, and receive. Last is to be open to receive. So, and being open to receive is, as I said, I believe that God sends us what we are asking and believing for, and then when it shows up, it's not exactly in the package that we imagined. We're like, okay, but I'm good, or we're just not noticing. So we're not in a state of gratitude to notice that the gifts have arrived, and we took them for granted.
Right.
When we're having our eyes wide open, we're open to receive as well. So I love that. Ask, believe, receive, and believe is a super powerful word. Oh, and I'm thinking of brave too, Holly, coming into this workshop this morning around, and I'm sure you've done tons of work with your community around this, but brave to me is doing the thing before you're brave. Like before you're brave enough to do it.
Yeah.
That to me is being brave. So not waiting till you're brave to do it, but doing it before you're brave.
I think that hits home so deeply. I can see on Julie's face too. Like it is the truth. Yeah, I love that. I love that, Debbie, so much.
There's a great book I'm going to send you, Holly. I think I've spoken to you about it already. Cheryl Strayed has a book called Brave Enough.
Yes, you told me that book. Oh my gosh. It's the truth though. It's so the truth. Wow.
Yeah.
So if you ladies were in person with what color of cardstock would you choose?
I would choose
red.
You would do red. I would do teal.
Teal.
I would like the green blue. The blue green. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want you to take a peek. This is using feng shui, so and their meaning of colors. But the color choice we make does reveal what our subconscious is saying. And again, these are these thoughts that we've been bringing up today, where I ask you questions and like, what do you want? And boom, pops out. How do you want to feel? Boom, pops out. Same thing for color choice. So red acts as a stimulator.
Yeah. Like as if I need more stimulation.
There's Julie.
So what I'm thinking about the conversation that we had today was, you keep talking about, you know, your not-for-profit, like, and that you are stimulating action. You are creating a movement where this giving project that you've got going on, it sounds like there's a lot in the pot that's being stirred up. Is that true?
Yeah. I love it. It is just it's my heart. I love what's happening. I love the people. I love the connection. I love the potential. And yeah.
And Holly, yours was blue-green, so represents youth, new beginnings.
Like an olive.
I'm dying. I'll take it. I will bring it all.
So yeah, there's a little gift for you.
Thank you. I'm receiving that one for sure.
So I'm mindful of the time, so I'm just going to, you might want to just take a snapshot of this, or people that are on the replay. So as I said earlier, how you show up somewhere is how you show up everywhere. So thinking about the color choice that you made and that's showing up, you know, for you, coming from your subconscious, how does that apply to some of these other areas within your life as well? In terms of, or is there a disconnect in one of the areas? So in terms of, you know, stimulating your career, Julie, you know, your health goals, your self-care, about the looking inward around what you want to continue to learn about. I saw the guitar in the background. Is there other areas in music that you want to, you know, pursue? Your financial situation, how do you want to stimulate additional income? And there's also this misnomer that Christians can't be wealthy, or, you know, don't love money. Well, money gives us access to the impact that we want to make within the world. That's just an aside. And, you know, relations, how can you stimulate beautiful, wholesome relationships with your, you know, your 10-year anniversary, but going bigger in terms of your, you know, desire to connect with your relatives in the Philippines, your spiritual, your relationship to God. So stimulating all of that. So thinking about that and just using you as an example. How does that land for you?
Oh my gosh, you know, tomorrow is a big day for my church. It's called Homecoming. And I mean, it's basically, you're welcome back home. And I recently rejoined our gospel choir. So that last one is very obviously very special for me. And just this week's rehearsal was so powerful. We sang a gospel spiritual about not giving up. So basically that, all of it.
Beautiful. So some of the practical aspects about your card is to embellish your card with images that feel like your power words. So you want to have your word be in a prominent position. And again, you can print that off from your computer. You can write it with a Sharpie. You can do it like a ransom note, where you just take, you know, letters from different sources and paste it that way. So whatever feels right to you, but to have your word be in a prominent position, and then embellish it with images that connect to the feeling of that word. Here's an example. When I opened up, I have a studio where I conduct, actually I was telling Holly, I was in it last night with 6 women, and we did a vision board workshop there. And when I opened it up 2 years ago, the people that came to the open house left me these cards. So I just wanted to give you an idea of these weren't actually power words. As I said, I developed this workshop by accident after this, but it was the idea that they do promote so much positive energy. And these were well wishes from the participants that came to the open house and left them for future participants who would be taking part in the workshop. So I left it up as a piece of art because I just thought they were so beautiful. So some of the traction with your card is deciding where you will put it. So, some people put it in their workplace, some people have it in their bedroom, some people have it in their bathroom, on their refrigerator. But the most important piece is to have it visible so that it becomes part of your language and part of your thought, not staying in your subconscious, but being in the conscious mind. As I said, about taking a photo of it, perhaps for your mobile devices. And then I would love to do a vision board with you. So if that's something that you desire, we certainly can work this out more. And thinking about your word as an affirmation. So in my case, as I said, when I'm making decisions, it is I will be generous, or I am my most generous self. So I'm just ending off here. So if you would like to create a vision board, you can go to my website, dare2declare.com. I have one coming up actually. This was supposed to be done in person, but with COVID, I can't travel to the UK. But I was streaming live from the UK, and I can go to the UK and do it there live. But now we're streaming from the UK, and I'm here in Ontario, Canada, and we're going to connect together. So it is starting at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, just to accommodate the Brits. But
we're up.
Yeah. Well, I think certainly, if you want to make it a priority, you can do that. But it's going to be doing a live vision board with the group there. So that's the link. It's right on my website if you want to do that. And if you want to connect with me further, connect to Holly. She can put you in touch with me. But my website's super easy. All my contact information is there. It's dare2declare.com.
Debbie, this was so incredible. I'm so glad that we made the time for this morning. Anyone who is watching from another platform after today, you connect with Debbie through our Instagram page at Brave Women Project, or at Mama Mac knows a lot about that. We've been tagging Debbie anywhere you see her face. She's been tagged, so you can go and follow her. We have absolutely loved today. This has been such a powerful moment, and we thank you for your time. So, in all things, thank you.